Welcome to TNT. Today we're talking about pretty much the end of a dynasty here in Thailand. The Shinawatra family have ruled over Thailand, or been certainly very prominent in politics since even before 2000. There's been three Shinawatra prime ministers, the original father, Thaksin Shinawatra, and then his sister, and then of late his daughter, Paetongtarn, who was ousted from the political sphere earlier this year. So now we've got more news about Thaksin Shinawatra, who's currently in jail and unlikely to get out of jail anytime soon, with the courts seeming to be, in dispute as to exactly when or if he may be up for parole. And that's not his only problem. Nation Thailand saying the Supreme Court cites 4 key points in ordering Thaksin to pay 17.6 billion baht tax bill. So this has been looming over Thaksin's fortune for a long time, and it looked at one stage whether he'd be exonerated from having to pay the amount, but now the Supreme Court has overridden the lower courts and said, no, he's going to have to pay it. Thailand's Supreme Court's overturned the lower court's rulings and ordered the former PM Thaksin Shinawatra to pay 17.6 billion baht in taxes from the ShinCorp share sale. And further down there, the court ruled that the Revenue Department's assessment of the tax arising from the ShinCorp share sale was lawful. So 4 key points. Number 1, no need for a new Constitutional Court ruling. Further down, since Thaksin requested that the Constitutional Court reconsider the same issue under the 2017 Constitution, the Supreme Court held that this was a repetitive request, saw no grounds to refer the matter again. Number 2, revenue officers lawfully summoned Paetongtarn and Paetongtarn. Now, apart from Paetongtarn, the recent Prime Minister of Thailand, being his eldest daughter, he's also got another daughter and son, Paetongtarn and Paetongtarn. And it notes that the court found the revenue officers legally summoned Thaksin's son and daughter within the time limits of Section 19 of the Revenue Code. To number 3, massive price discrepancy proved taxable income. And we'll get into all that in just a moment. Number 4, using nominees showed a lack of tax integrity. And down the bottom there, with this ruling, Thaksin's now legally obligated to pay the full 17.6 billion baht tax bill, including penalties and surcharges to the Revenue Department. So it's not as if the Revenue Department can just go down to the prison and roll up to Thaksin's cell, knock on the door and say, hey, can you just rifle through your pockets and see if you've got 17.6 billion baht. But it appears Thaksin could probably afford it. Thaksin Shinawatra's net worth is estimated to be approximately 2.1 US billion. That's about 72.5 billion baht. And that's according to estimates made by Forbes magazine. You can imagine that over the past 2.5 decades, he's been able to put a few million baht under the mattress as well. So how are they going to get this money from Thaksin Shinawatra? Thai PBS World reporting a long process to collect the 17.6 billion unpaid tax from Thaksin. It says that the Finance Permanent Secretary said today that the Revenue Department, the Office of the Attorney General and the Legal Execution Department will all be involved in the collection of the imprisoned former Prime Minister's 17.6 billion baht. And the Permanent Secretary said he explained that the legal process may involve seizure of Thaksin's overseas assets, if there are any, which would be the responsibility of the Office of the Attorney General. The auction of the assets would be the responsibility of the Legal Execution Department. So just reading the tea leaves here, it's not going to happen tomorrow, and it's going to be a long and bureaucratic process. So let's just go through the timeline here. Back in 1998, Thaksin owned nearly 33 million shares in ShinCorp. In March 1999, he set up a company in the British Virgin Islands called Ample Rich Investment. In 1999, Ample Rich bought the 33 million ShinCorp shares, Then in February 2000, Ampleridge added Thaksin's son Pantongthare as a director. In 2000, Thaksin transferred his one share in Ampleridge to Pantongthare. And then in 2001, ShinCorp reduced the par value of its shares to 1 baht. You get the idea. 2005, Ampleridge demanded payment of 4 shares at $1 each. And Pantongthare sold all their ShinCorp equity, valued at 73 billion baht, to Singapore's Temasek Holding Company. They did this through the Stock Exchange of Thailand, without paying at the time any capital gain tax. And then in 2017, the Revenue Department sent a tax demand to Thaksin, which included fines and interest, and that was the 17.6 billion baht. And then a month later, Thaksin challenged the Revenue Department's tax appraisal by taking the case to the Central Tax Court. And both the Central Tax Court and Court of Appeals of Specialised Cases ruled that the former PM did not have to pay the tax because the Revenue Department's tax appraisal was unlawful. 8 years later, and the Supreme Court of Thailand has overturned those earlier decisions, and Thaksin now has to pay that 17.6 billion baht. Now, cutting to the chase in all this, the Shinawatra clan, the Shinawatra dynasty, are pretty much over in Thailand. It's not as if he couldn't make some sort of comeback, but it's now highly unlikely. At 74 years old, at least another 8 or 9 months to be spent in prison, unless he is released early, which looks unlikely at the moment. And with such a big tax bill, I think Thaksin's days as a major figure in Thai political life and in politics are now over. His family have been shunted out now 3 times by the Constitutional Court in Thailand, and it looks like politically there's really just no way of a comeback. There's no other children that have got any interest in taking over the political baton. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about the decline and finish of the Shinawatra dynasty that's really cast a very broad shadow over Thai life for now 25 years. So tell us what you think. Has the Constitutional Court made the right decision here? Doesn't really matter what you think about that. They've made the decision, and Thaksin's going to have to, at some stage, front up with the money. So, thank you for watching today. Please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget you can always buy me a coffee. And we look forward to seeing you next time.